Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Call to order this meeting of the Fitchburg Board of Public Works for October 7th, 2024, held here in the Francis Huntley Cooper Council Chambers. We have an entire quorum of the Board of Public Works, Don, Alder Jetzer, myself, Dave, and Kim Lobdell. So thank you for all attending. Public appearances for non-agenda items. I do not believe we have any or anyone's signed up to. Okay, thank you, Scott. So then that brings us to 3A, approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to table the approval of minutes until next meeting?
Given the absence of the minutes in the meeting packet, I will move to table till the next meeting.
Any discussion?
I'll second.
Second by Kim. All in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are tabled till next meeting. Next, we have the report of our Director of Public Works, Mr. Tim Volker, PE.
Thank you. A couple project updates, starting with our well number 12. That's our well in Stoner Prairie on the corner of Velt Drive and Wayfair Street. The contractor is starting to install the erosion control for that project. They're going to look to start drilling the week of October 21st, so 2 weeks from today. We anticipate completion of the drilling in January 2025, and then about a month of testing after that. And then our Tower D project, that's construction of the Water Tower D, was advertised last week, and bids are due on October 30th for that project. And then our 2024 street resurfacing project, at the last meeting, we had an agenda item for the change order, which was the milling and resurfacing of Fitch-Rona Road, Nesbitt, and Seminole Highway. The contractor will be starting that work this Thursday, October 10th, and they anticipate it taking a week to 2 weeks to complete that work. And then at the same time that the contractor's working on the punch list items for the streets that were milled and resurfaced earlier this summer. And then our 2024 street maintenance project, that's our crack filling and chip seal project. The inspector and engineering technician and project engineer are compiling a punch list item for the contractor to complete. And then our 2024 sidewalk replacement project, the owners were incorrectly listed on the mailing label for the public hearing. Therefore, the public hearing will not be tonight. It'll be 2 weeks from today at our October 21st, 2024 Board of Public Works meeting. And then the contract award will also be on that same agenda. And then we would look to award the contract at the Common Council meeting on Tuesday, October 22nd, the very next day. Then the contractor would look to start later that week or the week of October 28th, and we're anticipating 2 to 3 weeks for them to remove and replace the sidewalk within that project. And then lastly, the Fitch-Rona Road Goose Lake Stormwater Project. The consultant is updating the existing stormwater model for Goose Lake. We're looking to start the survey this month and then also complete the wetland delineation this month for that project. With that, does anyone have any questions?
Board members, any questions for Tim?
Tim, did you ask the contractor about that microservicing, if they do it up this way, or you were looking in other municipalities maybe?
Yeah, for microsurfacing, the current contractor I don't believe does it. There's subcontractor we haven't checked with, so that's something we need to look into. And then we had an intern this summer that I believe microsurfacing was one of the items we had him look into for us to kind of see other adjacent municipalities who's utilized it and kind of what contractors they've used. So still looking into it.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tim?
Yes, Tim, do you know where they're going to start at on that project? Because I run through there twice a day with the bus.
Yeah, Fitch-Rona, I believe Zach Laundry called you last week.
Zach called,
Yeah, did you guys get in touch or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a hold of back to him on it, but he said that he didn't know if it was going to go up towards up the hill at Fitch-Rona or if they were going to come the other direction. So
Okay. If Zach hasn't gotten back to you yet with that, then I think he's still waiting from the contractor on that information.
Okay.
I'll follow up with him tomorrow.
all right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Tim, on well 12, I'm sorry if this is out of sequence. Do you have an idea how deep we're looking to go, how far we're going to case it, and maybe what our target capacity is for that well?
If I remember correctly, I believe the depth of it was 1,000 feet around there, and then maybe cased to a depth of 800 feet.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you, Tim. Appreciate the report. Next, we'll move on to our agenda items. First, we have 5A. Purchase of pedestrian lights for Phase 1 in the plat of 4th Edition to Terra Vesa. Do we have a motion to approve 5A?
I move approval of Resolution R-175-24.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Don. Standard, I guess we don't have lights on all our pedestrian paths. So this one was part of the plan for the project. Give us the particulars on it, Tim.
Yes, so pedestrian scale lights are required per city ordinance in the T4 and T5 districts of Smart Code. The plat of 4th Edition to Terra Vesa is located in a T4 district and requires pedestrian scale lighting. The city specified pedestrian scale lights are sold direct by the manufacturer, Stress Creek Incorporated, to the city. The agreement for subdivision improvements in the plat of 4th Edition to Terra Vesa requires the city to purchase the pedestrian scale lights for this plat and the subdivider to reimburse the city for these lights within 30 days of invoice. That's so that the warranty will be honored by the manufacturer, the lifetime warranty to the purchaser. Therefore, the city purchases it and then gets reimbursed to keep that lifetime warranty. So we're looking for approval to purchase the pedestrian lights for Phase 1 in plat of the 4th Edition to Terra Vesa from Stress Creek in the amount of $121,683.
So we'll purchase them. Then they're installing them, right? We'll purchase them. They'll buy them from us and install them.
Correct. Their contractor will install them.
Okay. Questions?
This is a sole source we're using for all T1 and T4, T5 locations. I mean, do we have alternates in case they jack up their bids too high? or costs?
So this is a sole source due to the first 3 phases utilizing the same lights. So within the neighborhood, we want to keep that uniform look and all those lights that were, chosen 5 to 6 years ago by a committee. And the subdivider does pay for the lights. The city isn't on the hook for the cost.
Do we purchase any spares on something like this?
We do not.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-175-24, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Next, we have the Resolution R-168-24, approval of Stoner Prairie Park Plan Implementation. Do we have a motion to approve?
I so move we approve Resolution R-163-24.
Moved by Dave Wilborn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Jetser.
No, 168, not
168, yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, we reviewed this at Parks Commission last week, and there's a number of options, a base bid, and then some options. So I see Scott is online. So Scott, why don't you run through what's included in this proposal? And I believe you have a view that shows the kind of the layout, possibly.
Yeah, that's it. That's in the packet,
It's in the
Dave.
packet. Never mind then. Just run us through the numbers then, please.
The park plan. Well, as you recall, this is we did bid this project back in May, and when we did bid it, the main 2 features of the bid is an open air shelter with some flat work along with the playground. But in May, when we did bid it, the prices came in way over budget. So what we did do is we rebid it, and actually when we rebid it, we did a base bid of the open air shelter and the flat work with some alternates, including the playground, the surfacing for the playground, and then we also included or sought an alternate for the wrap of the shelter pylons. And I think I've got in the packet is both a rendering of the shelter along with the playground. And when we did bid it the second time, the bids actually came in much more favorable. And the Park Commission, as Dave indicated, is recommending the base bid, which includes the open air shelter and the flat work, along with the alternate bids of the playground, its installation, surfacing, along with column wraps for the shelter. And that total is $441,465.50. And we did add a 10% contingency onto the cost of the project.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
As you see in the pictures, the shelter looks nice. I'm not really a frills guy, but I like the look of the masonry wrapping instead of 4 metal posts down into the ground. I think it makes it look a lot nicer having that option. So I'll open up the board for questions for Scott. Any? Go ahead, Don.
I didn't pull up the whole, what's the total build out for the whole area? This is just one phase of multiple. What's the budget for the whole build out?
For the whole build, and actually included or not included is we have some bike racks and repair station and some benches that we're looking to purchase as the budget becomes available. They're also, if you're looking at the master plan, there's a large prairie area that we're looking to hopefully get included at some point as the budget allows, along with landscaping. So it certainly is more, there's more to the project, but at this point, this is the dollars that we have available, and this is what the Park Commission is recommending to you.
Scott, was that basketball court we showed on there, was that something would be a future thing, or is that already there?
That also would be a future thing.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Scott, I'm looking at the line items in the bids, and I'm seeing dollar amounts for bike repair station, bike racks, and bench.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you just say that those were not included in this phase?
They were not, we're going to purchase those separately.
Even though they're
No.
line items in Parisi's bid?
Well, those are the alternates. We got alternate prices for those. Those aren't included in the base bid. We can get them for,
Yeah, I guess I'm confused
Less
because it
than
looks
what
like
they-
it's part of that 441,000. Am I wrong?
you are, yeah, it's the base bid along with the playground surfacing and column wrap is the 441, 465.50. The alternates are A1 through A8, and we didn't select the bike racks or the bike racks repair station or the benches. We're looking to get those in the future.
Any further questions on this? We looked at this pretty hard at Parks, and we grilled Scott pretty good on it. Nodding his head.
It was a good exercise, Dave.
It was. We asked a lot of hard questions, and money was no object. We'd include a few more things, but we will get to where we want. With the few additional things to bring it up to snuff. But we feel this amount here will get us a nice park and get us up and running. So, any other questions? See none, then I'll call. Go ahead, John.
Again, and maybe it's my naivety on how we budget stuff or the council budget stuff. Again, this is $500,000, and I see restrooms along with solar arrays. Did council approve like $1 million project to renovate this whole area? Or does it come piecemeal?
Actually, it will with this project is paid through parkland dedication fees and park improvement fees. So as the dollars become available, then we'll work to get the whole plan implemented. This is the overall comprehensive park master plan, and we'll phase it in as dollars and funding become available. But at this point, we're only comfortable with doing the open air shelter, the flat work, and the playground. And as Dave mentioned, that'll be a nice addition to the park and the neighborhood.
I recall at one time, and I'm sure my memory is bad, we talked about possible restrooms in the same structure as the pump, next to the pump house. Is that still what we're thinking about?
That is, and we've got dollars allocated out of the total park project. The dollars that we've received, that's already allocated for that project. So that's when we'll be tapped out with the dollars that we receive from the developments.
Understood. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, so it's the corner of Velt and Wayfair where the new well is going in. So would the solar array be part of the park, or would that drive the well pump?
I believe that'd be for the well pump. Right, very little of with the pumping power, but I believe it was for the well pump. Am I incorrect?
Well, as I understand, I believe Tracy was going to evaluate. That was a conceptual idea, conceptual plan, whether or not those solar arrays would be of benefit there. I think Tracy was still working on
Okay.
determining whether that was going to be a good investment or not.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering who, what funding source would those things have? If they're for park use, then versus utility.
Yeah, that would be, in my eyes, that's utility property. That's not under the Park Commission's jurisdiction, if you would.
Anything else? Okay. Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor, excuse me here. All in favor of the approval of the Stoner Prairie Park Implementation Resolution R-16824 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have Resolution 5 Charlie. Thank you, Scott. Resolution 5 Charlie, R-18124, approving agreement for subdivision improvements of the Jamestown Quarry. I will entertain a motion to table this resolution.
I'll move to table Resolution R-181-24.
Moved by Kim. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Jetzer. Tim indicated we're still working with the developer on some details on this, and so we may see it next meeting. All right. Any questions on this? Seeing none, all in favor of tabling signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This is tabled. Tabled until, can I say, till next meeting or to a date uncertain?
We can do till next meeting,
Okay.
October 21st.
So let us show that this is tabled until our October 21st Board of Public Works meeting. Okay. Next, we have Resolution 5 Delta, R-16324, authorizing acceptance of 2024 sidewalk and related concrete bid. Do we have a motion to table this resolution?
I move we table Resolution R-16324 to the October 21st meeting.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave Wilborn.
Why
Again,
are we tabling this one?
so this is being tabled, our notification to the residents.
Didn't get there.
It went to the right residence, but it had the wrong name. So we didn't feel that, if you get something at your house with the wrong name, you throw it away. So we felt it was in our best interest to reschedule this and get that mailing correct, so the residents would have the opportunity to come the next time. It's our intent, as you heard Tim say, we will have the public hearing. It's our intent to then approve the bid, and then council, assuming it's approved, then at the following day, council would approve it, and we could get the contractor going the end of the month here, as Tim indicated, somewhere to 2.5 to 3 weeks to complete this work. So, any other questions? Okay. All in favor of tabling signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution R-16324 is tabled. Next, we have Resolution R-17124, approving MG&E service estimate for North Fish Hatchery Road hub building. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move approval of Resolution R-17124.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Don. As we know, this will require electric service for this building. And the drawing you have shows installing MG install a conduit to bring their primary along the street, and then up into the property where they'll set a pad mount transformer that will be the feed for the hub. They'll use it for temporary construction. And they're requiring we give them a 10-foot wide easement through our property, if you look at that. And the only question I have right now, are we going to need is natural gas being supplied to this building also? Are they going to need another easement for gas? I don't know. I haven't looked at the building that closely. But you can get back to it. You can get back to me on that. That's not germane to this motion right now.
For what it's worth, I was going to ask the same question.
Okay. Tim, you don't have to answer right now if you want to get back to us on that one.
Yeah, I can look into that.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Tim.
Do we already have the easement, or?
Well, we own the property, so we have to grant them the easement for it's basically conduit running their primary conductor up to the pad mount transformer, which they'll own, and then they come off that. Initially, they'll come into a temporary panel for construction power, and once the building is constructed, it'll be tied into the AC station service for the building, which also we have to, if you read it, we have to purchase basically a metering cabinet that the permanent service will come into that has a current transformer in there for the metering and the meter. Bill, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I'm reading the schematic design here correctly, but it looks like that the width of that entire easement is going to be paved over with concrete. Does that pose any problems for the future?
Only if the cable goes bad.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's an easement, right?
Yeah, I know.
And I guess if they do need to rip up some concrete in the future, then, is that the city's financial responsibility?
They own the cable to the transformer. But I don't know the answer to that question, Bill, whether they'd have to pay for the restoration of the concrete or not. You raise a very good issue. I'm not sure, is there a place we can put it that it won't be paved over? I'm not sure we have one.
It's really a tight project, and it's certainly pavement, but I think that's probably the idealist location. You don't want to put it underneath the building, that's for sure. So yeah. I think they certainly determined what would be the best route.
I'll add that this is Bill. This is in conduit.
Sure.
So if they do this right, it goes bad. They should be able to pull it.
They can pull
should be able to pull it out and pull a new one in to mitigate.
That's a good point.
I should have known that. Yeah. Mitigate the use. Mitigate tearing it up again. So I'm expecting normally underground, direct buried underground, has a lifetime of 25 to 30 years, but this is in conduit also, so I'd expect it maybe
a little
longer. So I'm not expecting to deal with it in my lifetime.
So I have a question. Is this cost typical to what the city has experienced in the past to do this type of thing?
Yes.
Have we got a bid from MG&E on the running the service to the new police station? Just curious. That's a much bigger service there, substantially larger service, so it's probably not apples to apples there. But Kim, that number seemed, in the business I'm in, that seemed within my sense of reasonability. You'd always like it to be lower. I don't think MG&E ever gives us any bargains, but considering all the power we buy from them, but we're looking for a good, reliable service, and this is a reasonable price for this.
When do you expect to put it in? I see this highlighted that there might be winter charges if you're doing it between December 1st and March 31st. Do you expect to have it done before then, at least up to the temporary, or after then, or do we expect there to be winter charges?
Scott, do you know?
I don't, Tim, but I would anticipate they're moving as quickly as they can. They certainly want to get it enclosed before winter, so they can do interior finishes and things.
Yeah, the contractor needs it in sooner than later. So
yes,
yeah,
right. So
it's a good question, Kim. I anticipate it would be. I don't want to pay frost charges, but the way it's going, I don't know if we'd have any frost anyway. But we will see.
Come on, I heard those caterpillars are dark black and furry this year. So.
I saw one when I was moving my wood pile last night. Yes.
You would think that they would be able to get the temporary in even if they weren't to that point and then be able to do the.
Well, this will be a permanent, what they're installing is the permanent installation. It'll be feeding out of the transformer, they'll be feeding, it'll be temporary power for the construction.
Mm-hmm.
But then once they're done with that, then MG&E, they'll put the new cables into the metering cabinet we've purchased on the building, and that'll be the permanent power. So the only temporary thing might be the secondary coming off the transformer that the contractor probably has into a temporary construction panel, and that sometimes that's replaced, and then the main cables are brought into the final termination device. Any other questions on this? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-171-24, approving MG&E service estimate for a hub, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Next, we are on 5 Foxtrot, Resolution R-176-24, approving an agreement for real estate services for the Fitchburg Road reconstruction project. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve R-176-24.
Moved by Don. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Jetser. Assuming we have to acquire additional property for the road reconstruction, is it any more complicated than that, or are there additional stormwater easements, or I'll let you give me the rundown here.
Yeah, so Fitchburg Road is scheduled for reconstruction in the year 2025. As part of the construction of Fitchburg Road, property must be acquired to construct the roundabout, the retaining walls, stormwater features, and other improvements for the project. So the Public Works Department prepared a request for a proposal for real estate services. We advertised it by legal notice in the Wisconsin State Journal on August 30th and September 6th, as well as posted on questcdn.com. And we also individually notified 6 firms which perform these services. On September 16th, 2024, the city received 1 proposal for these services. Public Works Department checked the references and determined that Terra Venture Advisors is a qualified consultant to provide these services. The next phase of the project is included in the capital improvement plan for 2025. In order to keep the project on schedule, we recommend authorizing a budget amendment to contract for this service in 2024. Rather than waiting until the funding is appropriated in 2025. So as part of this resolution, there is a budget amendment, and the budget amendment authorizes the city to issue $40,000 in additional debt in order to sign this contract in 2024. So we'd amend the 2024 capital projects fund budget by $40,000 for this contract, and it would be funded by additional borrowing. We're looking for also approval for the agreement for real estate services for the Fitchburg Road reconstruction project with Terra Venture Advisors, LLC, and that would be in the amount of $102,410, and this includes a 10% contingency.
Thank you for the explanation. Questions for Tim?
I have a question. So you're advancing this so you can get it done, so you're borrowing money to do that. How were you going to pay for it? Are you going to pay it back, or were you going to borrow also in 2025?
We're also going to borrow it in 2025, so we're just moving that borrowing up a little sooner so we can get it done this year. This project also has a grant tied to it, and the grant deadline is next year to have this constructed, so it's a $2.8 million grant the city received.
So I'm assuming that since you checked references and things, the city has not used this vendor before, is that correct?
We have used the vendor before. Staff that's currently in Public Works, none of us, including Tracy, who's been here 20-some years, has utilized Terra Venture, but they have done business with the city. We weren't able to find out if it was a different department maybe that utilized them. Ross did follow up with their references. There was 2 references with Wisconsin Department of Transportation that utilized them for real estate services, and both references from WisDOT gave them a good recommendation. So they had also submitted a bid with the city for the Fish Hatchery Road, but weren't successful in the bid of that.
Tim, did we have real estate, that we had to acquire on Cyene Road, that we hired a firm to do that?
We did. It was a subcontractor to our engineering consultant.
Okay.
So MSA professionals did that. And MSA was one of the consultants that we did reach out in the 6 firms. However, they responded back, they're too busy and have too much work to take on anything additional.
Good problem to have. Not great for us, but good problem to have if you're
We're
in business.
finding that a lot with real estate acquisition. There's so much work going on that, and rightfully so, if they can't meet your time frame, it's better to say, no, we can't do it. But prices are going up for this because people are so busy and you're only getting one.
Yeah, so out of the 6 firms, we tried to reach out to 3 of them, responded back, they're too busy. 2 of them, we didn't get a response back. And then the last one, it was Terra Venture who did submit something.
Yeah.
Is there any reason you didn't include this real estate acquisition in the contract for this one, like
I
you
think
did on Cyene?
it was something that was just an oversight. Paul Woodard had kind of worked on it in the transition between me and Bill. So it was just something that I think got left out inadvertently.
Isn't it true that the intersection was not originally going to be a roundabout? So maybe there was not nearly as much acquisition required?
Correct. You still have the PLEs and TLEs to get, but yeah, the roundabout did increase the real estate acquisition for it, and the roundabout wasn't originally incorporated. Or
do you have any sense that we're going to need condemnation for this? I know that the house on the corner, there's one property, that I'm assuming they'll lose some of their front yard. It's not really a yard like you or I, that you'd be out playing catch in their front yard. It's more of a parking area. But if you got probably don't have any sense until we start making contacts, would be my guess.
Yeah, we've had several public involvement meetings with the residents, and kind of, have went over potential TLEs, PLEs, and property acquisition there. They are aware of it, but I don't think we've got too far in depth to really gauge on whether or not we would go down the condemnation road.
I guess we'll find out. My sense, if I was the resident there, I think the roundabout would be less noise than the cars coming up and stopping and going each way. That the roundabout is maybe a little less noise, but again,
usually in our experience, the condemnation occurs when they're not satisfied with the price, not so much for the project.
Understood. Okay, thank you, Ken.
I was going to ask the same question. I mean, there's
Tim, the
23
question I'm
property owners.
Go ahead.
And remind me again, on the west side of the road, is there sidewalk or anything there? I'm just thinking of, you can't use condemnation to make pedestrian facilities, only car facilities.
I think around the roundabout, we're proposing a sidewalk bike path around there, and then to get it through the roundabout, and then to divert it back out onto the roadway. So yeah, that potentially, like you had mentioned, you can't utilize condemnation on that. So that's something we'd have to work through if that's an issue with that particular property owner.
When this comes before council, this will require a 2/3 vote to approve this with the amendment added to this.
If this passes, when do you plan on starting it?
The day after the contract gets signed. So we would look to start, immediately after the council meeting to keep on the schedule so we can get this project out to bid beginning of 2025. Around February, March, we're looking to have put this out to bid.
Your design shows what real estate has to be acquired.
Correct. So also right after this too would be bringing forward the transportation project plat to have that recorded and then to start the real estate acquisition process.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering, I mean, we had only one bidder on this. Do we have a feel for whether this price is reasonable? Kim, maybe you've got some experience.
So we asked Ross that question. He had looked up Fish Hatchery Road, kind of what the city paid. It is higher. We had 6 bidders on that project, and for Fish Hatchery, it ranged from $67,000 up to $114,000. You know, however many years ago that was, 4 maybe for those services. You know, pricing has gone up, and as Kim had mentioned, they're very busy.
Yeah. I mean, this works out to about $4,000 per property owner, if that means anything.
Tim, a couple of questions. One, there are a lot of assumptions that the city's providing services. I see the review appraisal as well as the staking, recording, and all that. Do you have the capacity to do that, or is that a different contract down the road?
What particular page were you?
I'm looking at the scope of services, and it says assumptions. City of Fitchburg will provide appraisal, staking, design, title search, appropriate appraisal reviewer, and recording. So it's a lot of real estate stuff that you have.
That was probably in the contract with AECom that they were doing those kinds of things, but not the actual acquisition. I think that's typically how we've seen the city's contracts.
Yeah, and that Kim is right. AECom did have services for those items, just not the particular real estate service.
Okay.
Good question. Any further discussion?
The only other one, I assume this is all in Fitchburg, because we had a cost share agreement with the town. They're not participating in any of this, I assume.
So that's something to be worked out too, is the real estate acquisition. So we coordinated with them on the design. They paid a portion of the design, and right now we're also engaged in cost share with the construction. So the land would also, the real estate would also be part of that discussion.
Anything further? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R 17624 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have Resolution R 16924 setting 2025 solid waste collection rates. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move approval of Resolution R-16924.
Moved by Alder Jetser. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Wilbarn. Take it away.
All right. Good to go? All right. So I think it was a few meetings ago we talked about the services, and there was a vote on that. So if you recall, and as reflected in the packet, there actually isn't a cost increase for services next year. So, you know, reflective of that, you'll see that there isn't a recommended increase to the existing rate. So last year it was $232 for all the curbside collection services, and then the recommendation for 2025 is to keep it at $232. If you look at I guess it's the last page, it's the analysis of various charges on fund balance. There's that highlighted section. You can see the applied fund balance is a negative value. So keeping it at this 232, would set us up to not having to dip into the fund balance and keep us, close to that 25% of the the unassigned fund balance would be 25% of the annual budget, or 24% per the recommended rate. So I don't know, are there any specific questions?
I don't have a question, just, people watching, or if you haven't been involved with this. Our reduction is we've eliminated the unrestricted recycling. That we've eliminated that option, which is kind of keeps us at the same level. And as we evaluated things, maybe 1 or at most occasionally 2% of residents use that, and so we felt that was an appropriate change to make. So,
And you did also add one additional brush collection, though,
yes,
right?
thank you, Kim. Thank you.
So there's part of a trade-off, too.
Yeah. Any other questions? Brought up at council, they asked a lot of questions last time. Different options. All right, there's no more questions, and I'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-16924, setting the 2025 solid waste collection rates, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The rates are approved. The resolution is approved. Our next Board of Public Works meeting is 2 weeks from now, Monday, October 21st at 5:30 p.m. If you can't make it, please let me or Tim know. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Moved by Don. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Jetzer. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.